Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's Q&A. I hope you're well. And I just want to start by saying thank you all so much for your lovely feedback about our maternity plan. I'm so pleased you like it. There's been a lot of time, a lot of thought that's gone into that just to make sure that I'm covering all bases. So the squad basically just carries on as normal, maybe even better actually. So if you haven't already seen that, gang, make sure you watch that. I've popped it as a button on the website, and I also emailed you as well with the maternity plan, and I put it in the Facebook group too. So check that out. Let us know your thoughts. I'd love to know. And also, I think it's important for you to know what's going to be going on as well. So I'm week 33 of my pregnancy this week, and I'm going to be carrying on to the end, as long as I possibly can anyway. And then you want to know what is going on afterwards. So make sure you watch that. We've got some brilliant questions as always. And I just want to start off with one of the questions that I got here. It said, no questions. I just thought the Q&A last week was excellent and very helpful. And I really want to say thank you so much for saying that, because again, I put in a lot of time into making these Q&As really, really practical, just really useful, genuine information. So hearing that it's really great. I'm so pleased that it landed really well for you. So thank you for taking the time to say that as well. I really do appreciate it. And team, if you do find these useful, let me know, or even just share them or write a comment on the podcast or something. It's always nice to hear the feedback and nice to know that it's helping, that it's useful. Now, today, we're just splitting it into two different categories. So we're going to talk about training and exercise first, and then we'll go on to a little nutrition section. So let's go straight in. Actually, no, let's not. Don't forget, this week, the Step Challenge sign-up's open. So watch out, gang. This Sunday, it's going to be good. We're doing the 21-day stalk sprint. I really want to tell you my team name, but you're going to find out tomorrow. Okay, so question number one. When unwell with a cold, do you just do gentle exercise or do you try to power through? And how do you lead a class when you're not feeling 100%? Okay, this is such a great question and something that we all face, particularly going into this time of year. Now, when you're not very well, it's really important to note that your body is doing a lot behind the scenes to try and repair itself, to try and get you better. So it's using that energy, any extra energy it can, to get you better quicker. So by doing high intensity exercise, you're using up your energy stores there, if you like, and also not helping support the immune system and not helping give that body the extra energy it needs to get you better. So what you essentially do by doing more intense exercise is you are prolonging the time that you are ill, and sometimes you can actually make it a little bit worse. My golden rule really is always just to listen to the body. So if it's just like a mild head cold, a bit of a sniffly nose, bit of tiredness, still doing some movement it can be a really good thing, particularly if you are feeling a little bit on the achy side. Some nice stretching, gentle stretching can be really, really useful, or just really, really dialing back the intensity in the classes you do, or doing shorter ones. So you could do any of those. If it is anything below the neck, so it's getting a bit chesty, you're feverish, you've got really big body aches, that is when it's really important to rest fully, because pushing through those days really, really can delay your recovery. And the idea is we want to give the body what it needs right now. To be healthy, we need to honor what the body needs. And when we're not very well, the body doesn't need a HIIT workout. The body needs a little bit of recovery time. So it's very important just to listen to what your body needs and honor that. Now, when it comes to leading a class, obviously that's a little bit different. The class kind of needs to run. So I don't push through at all costs. Depending on how ill I am, how bad the cold is, then I might need to put a cover class on. I might need to do a live replay. But generally speaking, and touch wood, I'm quite lucky that I don't really get ill very often. I will just dial things back. I will pull back on the intensity. I might demo a little bit less and coach a bit more and just go lighter intensity rather than going full out, or break up the class a little bit. And that's how I do it. It's just really important to know that rest is part of the process of getting better, and rest isn't ever a way of, when it's actually what your body needs and what your body needs to be healthy right now. Rest shouldn't be seen as something that shouldn't be done. It should be something that should actually be really encouraged. And then you can get back to doing what you love the best. So if your main goals are to be healthier, to be fitter, pushing through when you're not well isn't going to support your goals. So you actually have to take a step back and think about, okay, so what do I need to do in order to be healthier, to be fitter? I just need to pull back, or I need to have a couple of rest days and see how I feel then. And then I'll just ease myself back in. Depending on how ill you have been as well, it's important to ease yourself back into working out. Unless, it has just been something mild, you've kept moving, and after a couple of days you feel fine, you're ready to dive back in, great. If it's been a little bit more than that, when you come back to your workouts, ease in on the intensity and maybe the duration as well. Best exercises for a weak lower back to strengthen it and what to avoid. Okay, so a weak lower back isn't usually about the back itself, or isn't just about the back itself. It's about the surrounding muscles. They play a massive part. So you've got hips, quite often if they're tight, they can pull on your back. Weak glutes, underactive core muscles. So if we're not engaging our deep core muscles properly, and also weak hamstrings, they can all put extra strain on the lower back. So your lower back can be working harder and maybe feel achier, feel weaker, feel tighter because of the other areas. So working those areas is just as important as working the back itself. So just some general moves, and then I'll tell you about some classes to do, and would be things like bridges, glute bridges, where we're lying on our back. So really work to activate the glutes and your back doesn't do all the work. Bird dogs, or dead bugs even. So these are really good for your deep core. Then lots of different types of hip flexor stretches. So really stretching out the front of your hips, release any tension that can tug at the lower back. Then other things like gentle mobility, pelvic tilts, etc. And things that I would avoid is any really heavy loaded forward bends, any jerky, twisty kind of movements, anything that forces the back to take the load without the support. So you want to think of it like your scaffolding. So you've got the stability in your glutes, your hamstrings, your hips, and your core first, and then the back can become supported rather than strained. Now, the classes that you want to focus on for that would be booty band, Pilates, stronger, but just make sure that you are increasing the weights progressively. So I wouldn't say, go into the backtrack and lift a really heavy barbell. I would say just take your time progressively with that one, and then yoga scape. That's going to help to release the back as well, and your hips. We have dedicated hip tracks in that. They're the classes that you want to be mainly focusing on to strengthen your back and the areas that are going to support that too. I have damage to my thoracic nerve on one side, and when lifting weights and exercise, I've noticed I'm overcompensating for this weakness by trying to take the weight on my stronger side. Do you have any tips that can help with this? Thank you. That sounds really tough. And what is great though is you are observing how your body feels, and the fact that you've actually even noticed that. A lot of people wouldn't really even notice that. And it's really common as well, if you have a stronger side, for it to take over, whether you've got nerve damage or not. Now, it's really important to know that I'm not a physio, and I'd absolutely seek advice from a medical professional, from a physio. But from a coaching perspective, some things that will help is, firstly, just always think about your form. So think about how you're setting yourself up to make sure your feet are balanced, your shoulders are square, your core is engaged before doing anything. And sometimes it's just those little details in alignment that make a really, really big difference. So form first. Then just think about maybe lighter loads and a slower tempo. So the aim isn't always to lift heavy, particularly when, there's some nerve damage there. We want to be moving with control. So just slow things down a little bit, help your body reconnect with the weaker side. And then another thing you can do is film yourself, or look at yourself in the mirror so you can actually see what your body is doing. So as soon as you notice yourself overcompensating, you can readjust. And it might be a bit frustrating at the start. Progress might feel a little bit slow, but it's really important that you are building that awareness of what your body wants to do and building up your strength to support you in the longer run. And if it ever feels like it's getting worse or getting really painful, you just go straight away, go see a physio, and they'll be able to guide you better with that one. Now let's move on to the nutrition section. Number 1. This is probably covered in the nutritional section already, but I'm looking at options for increasing protein, etc. Yes, definitely have a look at the nutrition section. So there's a recipe book in there just for high protein things, but having protein at the start of the day is one of the best shifts you can ever make, because it really supports your energy. It keeps you feeling fuller for longer. And it gives you that window of protein, if you like, because if you didn't know, your body can only absorb so much protein at a time for protein synthesis, which is rebuilding your muscles. So it massively helps with recovery, so maintaining and maybe even increasing your lean muscle mass, which is what we want. Now, here are some little ideas. Obviously, eggs are really quick. They're versatile. Poached eggs, scrambled eggs, however you like your eggs, they're great. Eggs are brilliant. Then you've got things like Greek yogurt or protein yogurt, sky yogurt. I know I'm saying that wrong. There's like a proper way to say it. I saw an advert the other day. It's like, how do they say it? Is it like Swedish or Finnish or something? It's not skia, but then they say it in a really different way. Anyway, I can't pronounce it. I say sky yogurt, SKYR yogurt. That was an advert coming up on. I don't know if anyone else is watching this. The Summer I Turned Pretty. I saw it come up on Netflix. Sammy and Will wind down at night, but 9 o'clock at night, and then we put Netflix on. Oh no, it was Amazon Prime actually. Well, anyway, one of the two. We put them on, and I saw it as like number one in the UK. Like, what's this? Anyway, I'm fully addicted. It's so good. Yeah, that was a tangent. That's really good yogurt to have. And you could maybe pair that with some fruit and maybe some nuts. Overnight oats can be a good one, or just having some porridge in the morning and popping a scoop of protein powder in there. You could have smoothies again with maybe some nut butter, some oats, some fruit, and then popping protein scoop in there if you want that extra boost. Or you could have whole grain toast with some toppings like smoked salmon, like cottage cheese, those types of things, or even nut butter. There's not as much protein in nut butter as the other things, but it's something. And quite often, when you get whole grain toast or toast with like lots of seeds in, it can be quite high in protein itself anyway. It's always worth having a little look at the packet and just seeing what the protein is per slice. You want to be aiming for, I always think, around about, if you can, 20 to 30 grams of protein per meal. You know, some slices of toast can be about seven grams of protein, or maybe even more in some cases. So you have a couple of slices of that, you're already looking at 15. And then if you put your nut butter on top, you might hit the 20 there. Or if you have cottage cheese or smoked salmon, you're hitting even more, or even eggs, for example. Then one to watch out for, and just have this if you enjoy it, but like I'm using my inverted commas here, high protein cereals. Now, yes, they can have a bit more protein in them. Obviously, they're more processed than the other things we've already spoken about, but that doesn't mean that you can't have them and there's not a place for them at all. But what I would watch out for is a lot of things that claim that they are high protein are not. They're really not. It might be like, I've seen some where it's like, oh, high protein porridge, and it's like 9 grams of protein in a pot, or 7 grams. Some things are even worse. Some things are just really low, and they call it high protein because it's more than their normal branded product, but it's really not that high. So just watch out for that as well. Of course, by adding milk in there, milk's great at protein source, so you are getting some from that too. But I would just be careful. You look for ones, if you, particularly with cereal, anything kind of over 10 grams, and then pairing it with your milk, you're adding a bit more. But anything lower than that, it's just a load of rubbish. Like I said, you want to be aiming for about 20, 30 grams per meal if possible. If you love your cereal, what you could do is you could have some Greek yogurt or that Sky yogurt and put your cereal on top, and there we go. But you'll really notice a difference in your energy, your recovery, and also your appetite control as well. So if you find yourself reaching for snacks later on, look at your breakfast. Are you having a high protein breakfast? And the last question, team, what vitamins should we be taking now going into autumn? I think it's a really good time to think about your supplements and your diet in general. Obviously, first and foremost, I'm always going to say your food. Like, you need to make sure you're eating a good balanced diet, colourful fruit and veg, lean proteins, whole grains, etc. The majority of the time. So at least 70% of the time, our plates are filled with those types of foods. And as long as we're getting good colour into our diet, and think colours of the rainbow, we can't go too far wrong, really. But if you're looking for an extra boost, the number one thing I would say for everyone living in the UK or a country that is like the UK right now, going into autumn and December, vitamin D supplement. We don't really get enough sunlight from October through until about March in the UK. And vitamin D is really important because it supports your immunity, obviously important going into winter. It supports your mood and also your bone density. So vitamin D is a really important one, and it might be worth just supplementing it anyway. Other options, if you wanted to do this, again, focus first and foremost on your food, but other options would be vitamin C and zinc, because they can support the immune system. So zinc is really good for cell replenishment and regeneration. Your omega-3s, so they're good for your heart health, for your joints, especially if you don't really eat much oily fish. And then for the mood side of things, vitamin D actually plays a really big role in mood. And then also your B vitamins, like vitamin B12 and magnesium too, can support your energy and stress management and therefore your mood. But first and foremost, just look at your food. And then you can supplement on days where you feel like you might need that little extra support, particularly vitamin D, with the days getting darker and needing the extra immune system support. So what I'm trying to say is there's no harm in the supplements, but above all, just make sure that you're trying to get everything you need mainly from your diet. All right, that is all of the questions for this week, team. I hope you've enjoyed this short, sharp Q&A. If you haven't already, make sure you watch the maternity plan and don't forget to sign yourself up for the Step Challenge. It's a really good opportunity, particularly moving into this time when it is getting a little bit darker, when it is getting a bit colder and it's tempting to not move around so much and snuggle up or stay in bed a bit longer. When in actual fact, we know the best thing for our health and fitness and for our energy is to just get up and get moving. And we can snuggle up later. We can snuggle up with a blanket and watch the sunrise turn pretty later. But it's really important to keep the body moving, especially going into the winter months. And if you do struggle with your mood going into the winter months, just keep the body moving. It's the most important thing you can do. All right, team, I will see you in class. And if you have any questions or any feedback on the Q&A, please let me know. Have a wonderful day. See you soon.